sans dire à tout.
All right. All right. Let's get into the First Blood review and wrap this bitch up.
Do it.
All right. Yes. First Blood came out in 1982 and stars uh, again Sylvester Stallone.
You were gonna say Steven Seagal.
I know. Or I was gonna say I don't know. I was like yeah, a lot of S's floating around in there. And also yeah, uh, Sylvester Stallone, Brian Dennehy. I really
A
appreciate
very young.
Brian Dennehy though.
Huh?
I really appreciate Brian Dennehy as an actor.
Yeah, I
It's
do
like
too.
yeah, 'cause sometimes like you don't even think he's in it, but then all of a sudden he shows up and like puts in like the right amount of like Irish swag, and it's like this guy. Okay, the synopsis for First Blood. Vietnam veteran and drifter John J. Rambo wanders into a small Washington town in search of an old friend, but is met with with intolerance and brutality by the local sheriff, Will Teasel. Yeah, Will Teasel. When Teasel and his deputies restrain and shave Rambo, he flashes back to his time as a prisoner of war and unleashes his fury on the officers. He narrowly escapes the manhunt, but it will take his former commander to save the hunters from the hunted.
Yeah, this movie is kind of fucked up in a lot of ways because we're kind of just dropped in on like Rambo's journey, right? And a lot of he's been out of Vietnam for like 6 or 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
He has a hard time,
Readjusting.
adapt readjusting to civilian life, and so he goes on this journey to try and kind of reconnect with the one thing that he had, which was like his war buddies, and there's only really one that had survived the war beside him, and so he goes to like where he knew he lived, and it turns out that he died from cancer from the effects of Agent Orange.
Mm-hmm.
And the funny thing is too, like when he does go and like he is like looking for him, like the family of that soldier, they kind of even like look at him with a lot of disdain too, which was I thought was kind of like, all right, that's kind of a odd thing.
Mm.
Uh, and so he's just kind of like, well, like has nowhere to go, so he starts to head towards this town, looking for something to eat, probably a place to rest. And he's approached by the sheriff, who is, and he's like, "Hey, where are you headed to? Is there anything I can help you with?" Seems like he's a friendly guy. It's like, "Oh yeah, I'm heading up north a little bit. And, I'm looking for something to eat and all this stuff." And the guy, the sheriff, all of a sudden starts to become kind of a freaking jerk off,
Mm-hmm.
and takes him out of town. It's like, "Yeah, we don't want your kind around here." And to me, it also is a little bit representative of how, I mean, he may have not, I don't think he knew that he was a Vietnam veteran, but that's kind of like how a lot of the Vietnam vets were treated. It's just kind of like, yeah, we don't want your kind around here, kind of spit on you, you spit on them, all this stuff. And he's like, wow, that guy was kind of a jerk. So he's like, well, fuck him. I'm gonna go back to what I was trying to do and go back to town to get something to eat instead of walking 30 miles, north to Portland or wherever the sheriff was trying to send him to. And it was just a bunch of unreasonable, unruly assholery from the local police department of that town. Uh, And that's kind of how the whole movie gets started. It's like, what? Why were they acting like such dickheads to him? There was no. He didn't. He wasn't causing any crimes. You know, he wasn't like sleeping under a park bench or doing anything unruly.
Yeah, he wasn't like he
He
wasn't
was
urinating on Main Street while downing like a bottle of of whiskey. He's just passing through, and then just because he was wearing like a military style jacket with the American flag on it, he's like saying like, oh, people might take it the wrong way, you wearing that jacket and that flag. It's like, well, motherfucker, you got a flag on your jacket too. Um, but yeah, like the response from the sheriff, Will Teasel, Brian Dennehy's character, is just completely overblown and exaggerated. Uh, but like to your point of saying like how that it was kind of like the reality for a lot of Vietnam vets to be dealt with like kind of with hostility. And it kind of, and then we kind of get a glimpse of that at the end when Rambo kind of has kind of breaks down and he's like talking about experiences coming back and how like at the airport like people like would be spitting on him and calling him baby killer and things like that. Um,
got it.
I'm jumping ahead. So
Yeah.
let's reel it back. Yeah, the response to Rambo just walking through town was completely overblown, and like and the treatment that he got at the hands of the deputies was even worse. It was, it was funny because like even though they're in the Northwest, they acted like they're in the South with like the boys and the it's like come on boy and did it and so on and so forth.
Right. And it's the one yeah, they all really treated him like shit. And it's like a lot of the stuff that like they were trying to do is like, that's even like one of the like the deputies who one of the younger deputies is like, I don't think this is such a good idea.
Right? Yeah, he
The
was
guy who
like
was playing
yeah, he was trying to
David
like show
Caruso.
like some sort of deference because he was like when they find the dog tags on him, it's like, oh, he used to be a soldier, so he's trying to show somewhat of treat him with somewhat deference, as opposed to his more experienced colleagues where they're just like being like complete assholes. Like it's like get the hose ready and like they hose him down and he's like trying to get fit, and like like one of the deputies like threatens to beat him with a baton, and it's like this is completely ridiculous. Like, and so it kind of sets me up to think like, oh, man, I'm because I know what's gonna happen. It's like, oh, I'm glad you die. you know,
It's the funny thing, yeah, because but it wasn't Rambo that killed him. It was his own, him being a dumbass.
right? Because that one deputy, who was in the helicopter and he was like taking shot, and he was taking shots at Rambo, and he undid his safety harness inside the helicopter, and even the pilot was telling him, because like in the location that they found him in, like it was one of those places where like the air couldn't really recirculate very well, and so the pilot was having a hard time controlling or steadying the helicopter, and and Rambo just kind of like kind of trying to defend himself. He throws a rock at the helicopter, cracks the windshield, startles the pilot, and the pilot moves the stick in a direction, and it causes the deputy to fall out and die.
But that's the only person that dies.
Right,
All the Rambo never killed anybody.
right. It's
He
not like
injured
he
them.
took the rock and threw it at that deputy's head and like cracked it and caused him to die, and that's why he fell out. No, it's you know it was all more or less in defense. Uh, even though it could be Rambo's actions could be construed as resisting arrest or escape from authority or custody. Um, but yeah, none of the actions that preceded the bloodbath to come was Rambo's fault.
Yeah, it was it just felt as like, man, I felt bad for Rambo the entire film. Like it's you kind of root for him. It's like, honestly, it's like I want him to kill all of these people for the way that they treated him.
Mm-hmm.
But he's even in his, like, obviously he's having his flashbacks to Vietnam.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but even in that, like, he retains a level of restraint. Yeah, he defends himself, but he doesn't, and he does want revenge, but he doesn't kill anybody.
Right, and yeah, I might have miscategorized bloodbath. He does hurt people. Like there was like that scene with the deputies, and he sets up all those booby traps, and like one where it's like, it's
Oh, the
not.
one that hit Dick. Oh God,
Yeah,
that was
oh
awful.
yeah, yeah. So
Woo!
I mean, there was blood, but he didn't kill anybody, and even though like later on when his former uh, commanding officer comes to try and help him. Uh, he's describing Rambo as this killing machine, and he's like saying, and he's like telling the sheriff and all of like the state troopers and things like that. It's like, don't take it too far because he's like my boy, he'll kill you. Consider yourself lucky that consider yourself in a very in a very small group of people that that he allowed you to live.
Right, and it's like he keeps his colonel keeps warning him. It's like, yeah, I don't think you want to. Yeah, yeah, like you're lucky. Don't push this guy any further. It's like, and they all like kind of just, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, what do you know? It's like, well, I just, I only trained the guy to be a killing machine. Like, what? Yeah, what do I know? But like, yeah, I mean, uh, I think
Sheer
one of the
fucking
greatest
hubris.
lines, one of the greatest lines is from, Brian Dennehy's character, the sheriff. It's like, it's like, Colonel, are you telling me that 200, 200 men against your guy is a no-win situation? That's exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah. Um. Oh yeah, get that one booby trap that guy's dick though. It's like, oh, it. Oh,
Yeah, it's
that
one of
was
those
nasty. But that
traps
was
where it's
great.
like almost like a bear trap, but made out of wood, and you just like the deputy just comes and steps in it. It's like right on his nuts.
Oh, it was great.
Nice. Yeah, but again, Rambo showed like so much restraint, but but that sheriff was just out for blood for like no reason at all.
Yeah, that's the thing. That to me is the great mystery. Is like what had happened in that. Either there's two things. Either he's just a fucking crazy person, and he never killed that deputy. He never killed that sheriff either. He
Hmm.
hurt him, but he didn't kill him.
Right, yeah, and then
Uh,
yeah, and even in the final like face off, he doesn't even kill him. Like he wounds him, but he doesn't kill the sheriff.
Right. But then it makes me wonder, it's like what had happened in that town previously that made that sheriff act that way towards strangers in the town? Or two, what made him like, yeah, or was he just an asshole that like that's the thing, is like, cuz you don't it seems very odd that he would just be like, we don't like your kind around here, you know, kind of, and just shovel them out of town.
Yeah, no, it's the response is completely disproportionate to the actions seemingly committed by Rambo. All I did was walk through
Yeah.
town, and I don't know, like maybe he lost his maybe the sheriff lost his son, in Vietnam. So he might have some feelings towards like soldiers, or and again, like you said, maybe there was this one time where like this vagrant person or drifter was coming through town, and he caused like this huge commotion.
Like I said, it's possible we're not going to get the prequels to Rambo and figure out what happened in that town.
Right? Yeah, I know that. Yeah, it should be called Teasel.
But yeah, yeah.
like Teasel, first offense.
Yeah, exactly. To be honest, I might watch that movie though.
Right? Because it's like, what happened to this guy that he treats passersby, or drifters with such contempt and hostility.
But see, they would have had to do it back in the '80s when you have like that, Brian Dennehy as Teasel. Because I
Yeah,
don't think you'd have.
you had to have had Brian Denny reprise the role.
Yeah, I don't think I don't think anyone else could pull that guy's role off.
Right? Because again, Brian Dennehy has like this Irish swag where it's like it's like you kind of
Yeah.
like when you have like that kind of stereotypical, almost like that Boston Irish kind of grumpy old man. It's like that's you pick your Brian Dennehy.
But I would love a Teasel. It's,
Teasel, first offense. We don't like your kind. He's like, sir, you're causing us disturbance. Like, fuck you, pig. Like close up into the
yeah,
eyes.
yeah. Maybe Teasel was like a nice sheriff and then like there was the incident, and then he
Right.
became a jerk off.
Yeah. Which is hilarious because he seemed.
No, but see, it would have been like that would have been a kind of a dark buddy cop movie with with Teasel and his other deputy like Gift or Gaff or
The
whatever
one
his
that
name was.
dies, right? The one that dies.
Yeah,
But
the
it's
one that
funny because
died.
he like in the initial scenes where we meet him, he seems like a very amiable person. He says hello and good morning to everybody that he sees.
No,
And people seem to
he loves
people seem to love him.
yeah, he loves the townsfolk. He does a good job as sheriff, and everyone knows him and likes him.
Mm-hmm.
But outsiders, ugh.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I would love the backstory of what the fuck happened.
Yeah, Will Teasel, sheriff.
And kind of similar to Rocky, a lot of the cinematic archaeology that comes with Rambo
Mm-hmm.
comes from like a lot of the later iterations of Rambo. Because I
Mm-hmm.
know like the whole like the second one is where they there was an NES game of Rambo, but it was mainly based off of the second one.
Right, the second movie. Yeah, that's when he goes back to Vietnam to rescue POWs. And then the third one is when he goes and goes to Afghanistan to help, not the Russians, but I think, ooh, he might be actually helping. He might be actually sent there to help the Taliban.
See, and now I have never watched any of the Rambo films up until obviously we did the uh, review of this. I watched this one twice.
Mm-hmm.
So I haven't seen any of the sequels, so I don't really know too much about like
Mm-hmm.
what happens further. So I don't know
Right.
what
Well,
the
yeah, I
story will
remember
be.
watching the second one. I don't remember the third one except for uh, a little bit of the beginning part. And yeah, I think Rambo is sent to Afghanistan. Because again, this is like towards the, kind of towards the end of the Cold War, like almost the collapse of Russia. But I think he's sent there
Right.
to help freedom fighters fight off the Russians.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, I could be wrong, but you know what? I got the internet right here.
That's what it's there for.
Like, that's what that's for. You know?
Because was it Rambo: The Last Blood just came out, and that was like, was that the fourth or fifth one?
That was the fifth one because before there's just a Rambo movie where he basically uh, lives in Cambodia or something, and some like I don't know, some tourists get lost and he's hired to go rescue them.
I see.
Yeah. Yeah. The third one is when uh, Colonel Troutman convinces Rambo to go on a training mission in Afghanistan, and then the colonel is captured by a Russian colonel and is tortured, and he attempts a rescue mission.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, so it is. Yeah, so he's probably going to go help train Afghan freedom fighters, or as we know them, the Taliban.
Yep. Oh man. Uh, what were there any other like scenes that really like stood out to you, or like um I mean, obviously, like the last scene is pretty powerful with the that impassioned uh kind of breakdown that Rambo
Yeah.
has with Troutman.
Hmm.
That was pretty powerful.
Right. Yeah. Where it's just like talking about his experience back, talking about I think we should just get to the end part because it is the most powerful scene in the movie. Um, he's just describing his experiences, after coming back from Nam, and talking about how he was just trained killer. He was put in charge of like millions of dollars worth of equipment, but now he can't even get a job parking cars. Um, I think in a lot of ways it's there's a little bit I think there's a little bit of echo nowadays, especially with our with veterans coming back from combat, and having trouble like readjusting and suffering from PTSD, or just or coming back just wounded, not just sometimes not just physically but also like spirit, like having that spiritual wound. um so there's a lot of similarities to Rambo's character and kind of what's happening in real life nowadays.
Yeah, it's unlike the Vietnam vets, um, at least a lot of our veterans, at least with face value, they're given a lot more respect, and I
Hmm.
think there is a lot more um, notice paid to, like, they're not just calling them like, oh, fucking pussies. It's like, there's a lot more of a recognition of the effects of like PTSD and all that. Um, I think as far as like treatment goes, like the way that the like the VA and all that stuff, they're still not really able to do a lot. They either don't do a lot, or it's not enough. Um, but yeah, the way the Vietnam vets were treated, like, it was just awful. And I think this may have been like a similar story to a lot, and maybe not like in the exactly how like Rambo's story turned out, like where he's knocking off sheriffs in the woods, but kind of like just the attitude that's paid towards them. It's like, you know, yeah, I don't want this guy in my town. it's like, a lot of them ended up becoming like drifters and, not really knowing what to do and not able to readjust
Mhm.
to civilian life.
Right. I mean, little bit of personal history. My dad, he was in Vietnam. Um, he was in the Korean Marines, and I mean, I don't think he got it as bad as the American soldiers, but but the government did screw over a lot of people. Like the payment that the soldiers were supposed to receive, they talked them into deferring it, or just kind of like putting off the payments so that they could rebuild or make improvements to Korea, the nation. And so, but it wasn't until recently that those veterans, remembered, or I don't know how it happened, but they sued, and now every one of those soldiers is getting back pay from when they fought in Vietnam. So my dad now is getting some some checks that were denied him at the time.
Damn, that's fucked up.
Yeah. So yeah, just a little personal history for my own family experience of Vietnam. But my dad, yeah, even though he was in Vietnam, he never really talks about it, and I never really pushed him on the issue because, whether or not he has bad or good memories, you know, uh, I felt like if he wanted me to know these things, he would have told me.
Yeah, that's, it's, because a friend of the podcast and a friend of mine, Daryl, he's a Vietnam vet.
Hmm.
And, there's some stuff that he'll tell me about like what happened over there,
Hmm.
but he's like, yeah, I just not gonna talk about it. And it's like, yeah, hey, no worries, man. Like I understand.
Right.
And he even said like, yeah, like he said, there are a few things that there are certain smells that if I smell it, it does kind of it brings me back there, and I have to like kind of like check myself.
Hmm.
He says like one of the ones that he said that really like bugs him is the smell of just disgusting bathrooms, like when it smells like shit.
Mm.
That brings him right back to like being in Vietnam. Like it was like I'm there right now. It's kind
Oh
of.
wow.
And I mean now, I mean he has things that he has like that helps him to like deal with it, and like he's a jovial guy,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah. Absolutely.
but like he said, yeah, like but it brings back a lot of those memories of being over there,
Hmm.
and it's just unpleasant.
Right.
And even like one of another one of my close friends that I was in the Navy with, he was um, over in like the Middle East a lot, and
Hmm.
he even said like there's certain like sounds or certain things that just kind of like bring him back. Like he's right back in the battle. He's like, and he has to like just sometimes he'll call me and it's like, hey man, like I just need to talk to someone just to kind of like because I have like something just triggered everything. I just gotta like talk to somebody, just kind of relax for a second. And it's like,
Hmm.
and it's like, yeah, no, of course, man. Whatever you need. And it's crazy that it's like that. And so I think in a lot of sense, it's like what everything that was done to Rambo and everything that he was feeling. It's like um, and these guys who clearly were not, military veterans, um, really had no idea and like they just didn't give a shit.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't have anything else really to say. You? Final thoughts?
No, no, that's pretty much all I had to say about it. Rambo is an awesome film. Like I'm glad
Hmm.
I finally watched it.
Yeah,
It only took 30 plus years.
yeah, yeah. And I'm glad I watched it again. especially now as an adult, because as a child, it's I just thought that, oh yeah, action film, shoot 'em up, blah blah blah. But it's like there's real depth in this movie, and yeah, I mean, now I'm kind of curious to wonder because this movie was based off a book called by the same title, so I'm wondering what the book is like.
Maybe if we do get the Will Teasel, it's like
Yeah,
the
right.
Will
Yeah,
Teasel.
maybe we'll get the backstory in there. Uh, yeah. Okay. Let's give our ratings and let's call it a night.
What's your rating on this one?
I'm gonna give this one a 4.
You're giving this one a 4?
I'm giving this one a 4.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the 4 as well on this one.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, if you're looking for great action, this is a film for you.
Mm-hmm.
If you're looking for a actually, and this, even though it's mainly an action film, there's actually a lot of good acting in it as well.
Right. I think
Because
yeah, and even from Stallone, I thought
Stallone, this may have been one of his best acted films, just because you really believe the torture that Rambo is going through.
right. Yeah, because like at the end when he's having that breakdown, with Colonel Troutman, and then kind of Colonel Troutman kind of hugs him, and he's like you could hear him like sobbing, and like he does like that kind of like stutters, like like when someone is crying. I was just like, wow, that was a great touch. Like the depth of like his pain is felt. It was believable.
Yeah, yeah, it was really great acting from Stallone on this one.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
And of course, you get Brian Dennehy, so you can't you
Yeah,
can't go
Brian
wrong with
Denny.
that
Anything
either.
with Brian Denny is awesome. It's not perfect, but it's awesome.
Oh yeah, um, but yeah, this is a good film. I can't think of anyone like me who's never seen Rambo before, but if you haven't, go watch it.
Yes, Jerks recommended. Rambo, First Blood. Check it out.